served him, put him first, and turn with me 1 Samuel. It's right in the very beginning. It's in 1 Samuel chapter 1. And I was looking up how far that they traveled to go to the tabernacle. She went up yearly, her husband did, and he loved her. He loved Hannah, but she was barren and didn't have any children. Women used to want children. Nowadays, most young couples have got a dog. They'd rather have a dog than a child. Some even believe that it's too dangerous to bring a child in this world anymore. They don't think that you can raise them right. I said, well, I disagree with you. I said, I've got several in our church that's been raised in Christian home. And one man I was talking to this week, he didn't believe in Christian education, homeschooling. He said he didn't think people had enough sense to teach their children at home. I said, they got as much sense as them teaching them at the school. I said, at least they won't get molested at home. Yeah. Take kid to a public school, first thing they're going to do is strip them naked. Playing some kind of sports or doing something. But anyway, we're in the book of Ruth, and not Ruth, 1 Samuel. And I looked up from Mount Ephraim to Shiloh is 15 miles. Well, if you're on foot, that's a pretty good little jump. I don't know how long it'd take to walk that. How far can you walk in an hour? About 4 miles an hour, is that right? So it'd take 4 hours then to walk nearly from Mount Ephraim to where the tabernacle was at Shiloh. That's where his son was going to be. So look at verse 1. Now there was a certain man of Ramoth, of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jerome, the son of Elihu, the son of Toho, the son of Zump, an Ephraimite. That's of the tribe they were. They were Ephraimites. And he had 2 wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. And this man went up out of his city yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. And the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, of the priest of the Lord, was there. Now, these 2 men, the Bible said they knew not the Lord, these preachers' kids. Eli, his kids knew not the Lord. And when somebody that doesn't know the Lord, they're subject to do any and everything. That's just the facts. So, look at verse 5. And unto Hannah he gave a worthy portion, for he loved Hannah, but the Lord had shut up her womb. She couldn't have children. And her adversary also provoked her sore, for to make her fret, because the Lord had shut up her womb. Boy, wouldn't that be horrible? Living in a household with another woman that was married to your husband. What kind of mess would that be? I couldn't imagine anything like that. And on top of that, Hannah being the kind of woman she was, a godly woman that knew the Lord, that prayed, had to put up with that, provoking her on a daily basis because she had no children. In those days, that was sort of a shame not to have children. You wanted your lineage to continue. Her adversary, his other wife, provoked her. Man, how would you like that aggravation on a daily basis? Then in verse 10, if you'll notice here, and she was in bitterness of soul and prayed unto the Lord and wept. And she vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thy handmaid, and remember me, and not forsake thine handmaid, but will give unto thy handmaid a man child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. Well, Hannah's trips up to the tabernacle saw that something needed to change. Eli's got two reprobates, these two boys, and the Bible said that they caused Israel to sin, said they lay with the women. Man, that's a killing sin right there. These boys had no conscience. And Hannah saw this when she went up to that temple. I don't know, they may have hit on her. But she wanted a change. And she didn't want just any kind of baby. She wanted a man-child. Because a man could be a priest. A man could be used by God. Not that a woman couldn't, but it was a man's job. And she prayed. And nowadays, you know, that's the last thing that most people do is pray. That's too simple. We need something that'll work. We need something that's, you know, big. We need something that's where I can show my faith. I don't know how many people, after I was saved, those mothers of some of those boys I ran around with said, David, what can I do for my son? I said, well, you might want to try what my mother did. She went to church and prayed. I said, she not only prayed, but she got all them other women to help her pray. I said, you might want to try that. People want some kind of easy fix. I don't want any pain. I don't want any problem. Praying just too simple, isn't it? But it works. I mean, it worked so well for me. The first prayer I ever prayed, I got saved. Man, I had a lot of confidence in prayer then. Because the first time I ever prayed, God heard me and answered my prayer. That may be true with a lot of y'all. The first time you ever really meant business with God and prayed, God heard your prayer. Well, that ought to encourage you to pray some more. Ask Him for things. So, Eli thought she was drunk because she was in bitterness of soul. She wanted a man-child. She wanted a change up there at the tabernacle. She wanted two sons of Eli removed, and she wanted her son to be a priest. Because she said, Lord, if you'll give me a man-child, I'll lend him to you. I don't know many mothers today that have a baby and say, I want my son to be a preacher. There's a lot of heartache with being a preacher. Look, I've been doing this for 53 years. I'm not burnt out by any means. But I tell you what, some of these people sure can discourage you. You think You put confidence in somebody, and about the time you think they're going to be some help, whoop, they're gone. Don't even know why. Get a text on a Saturday night saying, we won't be back to church. Not even why or a whim or nothing. It's just a ministry. That's just what God's called us to do. He suffered. It won't hurt you a little bit to suffer. Are y'all still with me? Like I said, most people nowadays had rather have a dog than have a child. Because like that man told me, he said, well, I wouldn't even want to bring a child in this world anymore. It's just too dangerous. And he said, it's hard to raise a child right in the day we're living in. No, it's not. I said, people's doing that every day. They're raising their children right. Why she wanted a son. Look at chapter 2 with me. Look at verse 12. Now the sons of Eli were sons of Belial, the devil. They knew not the Lord. So these dudes, they were dancing to their own music. They was doing their own thing. You know, the Bible said in the book of Judges, every man did that which was right in his own eyes. That's the day we're living in. That's why they go to one of these no-name churches. You don't even know what they believe. They ain't even got a sign up. It says we're Baptist, we're Church of God, we're Catholic. Or any of y'all see that on the news this morning about the American Pope is just revitalizing the Catholic Church. There's more people coming to Catholicism now than there's been in 100 years. That's what they're saying. They said churches in America are having triple attendance than what they had before we got the new Pope. And I don't know how much of that, I don't believe anything them people say. That's the fouled uppest religion, a cult that's ever been. You can read chapter 17, the book of Revelation, and it talks about the whore of Babylon. That's what the Catholic Church is. On 7 hills, that's where that place is located today, on 7 hills. Everybody knows what that is. And a man wearing a dress, won't marry, denying married. The Bible warns us in the last day they would deny married. And that's what he's running around with a dress on, wanting you to call him father. And the Bible said, call no man father. Look at verse 15. It said, also before they burnt the fat, the priest's servants came and said to the man that sacrificed, give flesh to roast for the priest, for he will not have sodden flesh of thee but raw. And if any man said unto him, let them not fail to burn the fat presently, and then take as much as thy soul desires, then he would answer him, nay, but thou shalt give it me now, and if not, I will take it by force. See, they wanted to eat that fat. But Eli was a big old fat man. And he wanted that fat. Boy, that's what makes a steak taste good. Did you know that? That fat on that steak, man, it makes it good. They didn't want to do what God said do. They wanted to do what they wanted to do. And Eli's son would take it by force if they didn't let them have it like they wanted it. These guys were trouble. But, as always, God's going to have the last. Samuel in verse 18, minister before the Lord, being a child, girded with a linen ephod. Look, this boy don't even know, he's not even called to be a priest yet, but he's wanting to look the part. Why not try to look like something? Instead of looking like nothing. Do your best to look like something, somebody. Look the part. And Samuel, this young man, his mother would make him stuff, and she was leading him in the ministry. He had the clothes to do the job. I mean, they didn't just show up in anything, flip-flops and a pair of shorts and long hair. They showed up with the outfit that God said for them to wear to be a priest. Everything about it was detailed down to the buttons. Kind of stones on their breastplate. Everything was detailed. Look, God don't leave anything to chance or leave it up to you or me. He was girded with a linen ephod. He looked the part. That's what he wanted to be. He didn't dress down. He dressed up. And in verse 19, you can read that moreover his mother made him a little coat and brought it to him from year to year when she came up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. So his mother loved him. And she set a good example. She was a good mother. And she set a good example for him and encouraged him in the ministry. And a lot of people, they want to encourage their kids to go to church. They'll go down to the ball field and watch them all day long. But they won't go to church with them. That's just too much. I don't want to do that. Too much. Well, you're going to regret it one of these days. Man, mine played ball. I went down there with them to the ball park, but I took my boys to church, and we didn't play ball on Sunday either. They knew better than to ask. And they turned out pretty good. I didn't ruin their childhood. One lady told Terry she wouldn't let them go see some kind of movie at another church, and she said, "You're going to regret that one of these days, not letting these boys have any fun." She ought to just slapped her open-handed butt. She didn't, but she should have. Just whop. Mind your own business. One of them know-it-alls. Only thing she didn't know was God. That was her problem. There's a mother's love. Boy, I'm telling you something. I'm glad my mother loved me. Prayed for me. Got all them old women praying for me. And boy, the Holy Ghost tracked me down like a bloodhound. And if it hadn't been for her praying for me, I don't know that I'd have got saved or not. I really don't. Thank God for people that prayed for you. She cared for him and she taught him. And what did he see in his mother? I tell you what he saw in his mother. He saw faithfulness. She was faithful to her husband, even though he had another wife that was aggravating her. She was faithful to him, and she was faithful to that child. Year by year, she went up, took him, made him a little coat, made him stuff, cared for him. No doubt took him stuff to eat. Listen, if you're a mother today and you've got a roof over your head and clothes on your back and food there in the pantry to eat, you ought to thank God. But we're focused on how everything looks, the aesthetics of things. Oh, my feelings. Men don't operate with feelings. We operate, can we get it together and will it hold? 2 and 2 is 4. We have to figure out how to make it work because we got to get paid. We got to make it work. Women, they're all about emotions and feelings. There's a lot of difference there. Men and women are different. This woman loved God, and she loved her son, And she wasn't going to let anything get in the way of helping that boy. Now look at Eli's problem in 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 22. Now Eli was very old and heard all that his sons did unto all Israel, and how they lay with the women that assembled at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he said unto them, Why do ye such things? For I hear of your evil dealings by all this people. Nay, my sons, it is not good, no good report that I hear. You make the Lord's people to transgress. Look at verse 26. And the child Samuel grew on. He just went on. And was in favor both with the Lord and also with men. So Eli had problems with his son. He made the Lord's people to transgress. Eli had a warning to his sons. Samuel was in favor with God and man. He just went on. And there's the final warning in verse 29. Wherefore keep ye at my sacrifice and at mine offering, which I have commanded in my habitation. Guy told me the other day, it's strange how some of these people that's always looking for a reason not to give anything, and will go for weeks without giving anything. And then some people, on the other hand, are looking for a reason to give. And you can't stop them from giving. So he's talking about the offering, which I have commanded in my habitation. Honorest thou sons above me, to make yourself fat with the cheapest of all the offerings of Israel, my people. They took the best meat, they took the fat meat, and he made himself fat. The offering, that was the Lord's offering to his people. They didn't have, lots of times, they didn't have currency like we have today, and the tabernacle had rooms off to the side. They'd bring corn, they'd bring tomatoes or whatever they grew, they'd bring it, and that's what the priest would live on. He didn't have to go to the grocery store. There probably wasn't even a grocery store. I went to Israel, and man, I got sort of bummed out with the food they had. I said, I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm going to buy me some mayonnaise, and I'm going to buy some bread, and I'm going to buy some of these bananas I see everywhere, and I'm going to make me a banana sandwich. That's what I said I was going to do. Well, their grocery stores and ours ain't alike. The bread they got you could buy, you could throw it through a window, and it'd bust the window as hard as a brick. I didn't see any mayonnaise, but I did see a stalk of bananas, and I bought some bananas, and I ate those bananas. Next morning, Brother Jimmy Wadsworth said, did you eat that meat last night they served at the hotel? I said, I sure did. I said, not only did I eat it, but I got seconds. He said, did you know what that was? I said, no, I didn't. I didn't even care. I didn't even ask. He said, that was camel tongue. I said, well, it sure was good. Look, when you're hungry and you walked all day, you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you've walked all day, walk over here, look down where Elijah hid down there by the brook, and you walk about a mile back to the bus, and everywhere you're going, you're walking. Boy, at night, when they throw something in front of you, you eat it. Yeah, I said, did you not eat it? He said, no, I didn't eat that. I said, why not? He said, it's camel's tongue. I said, well, these people eat it every day. Boy, they had to kill a lot of camels, didn't they? I don't know if that was right or not. I never did get the lowdown on that, but I don't see how they could kill that many camels to have that many tongues, unless they didn't want them to say anything. They just took their tongue out, and they couldn't talk. Then Look at verse 34. And this shall be a sign unto thee that shall come upon thy two sons on Hophni and Phinehas, and one day they shall die, both of them. So, of course, that happened. Look at chapter 3 there. And the child Samuel ministered unto the Lord, but before Eli, and the word of the Lord was precious in those days. There was no open vision. And it came to pass at that time when Eli was laid down in his place, and his white eyes began to wax dim, that he could not see. And ere the lamp of God went out in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of God was, and Samuel was laid down to sleep. And the Lord called Samuel, and he answered, Here am I. And he ran unto Eli and said, Here am I, for thou callest me. And he said, I called not. Lie down again. And he went and lay down. And the Lord called yet again unto Samuel. And Samuel rose and went to Eli and said, Here am I, for thou didst call me. And he answered, I called not, my son, lie down again. Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, neither was the word of the Lord yet revealed unto him. He's a lost man. God's dealing with him. Third try here. And the Lord called Samuel again the third time. And he arose and went to Eli and said, Here I am, for thou didst call me. And Eli perceived that the Lord had called the child. Now here's an older man leading a younger man to the Lord. Therefore Eli said unto Samuel, Go lie down, and it shall be, if he call thee, thou shalt say, Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. So Samuel went and laid down in his place, and the Lord came and stood and called as at other times, Samuel, Samuel. Then Samuel answered, Speak, for thy servant heareth. And the Lord said to Samuel, Behold, I will do a thing in Israel, at which both the ears of every one that hear it shall tingle. In that day I will perform against Eli all things which I have spoken concerning his house. When I begin, I will also make an end. For I have told him. You want to know when God's going to deal with you about something in your life? Right here's your verse. For I have told him that I will judge his house forever for the iniquity which he knoweth. When God shows you something, you know it's wrong, you better quit it. Because his sons made themselves vile, and he restrained them not. You don't think parents have got a responsibility to raise that child up in the fear and admonition of the Lord? If you don't raise that kid right, all you're raising is a brat, and everybody in the country will want to correct them. And you're going to answer to God for how that child was raised. It's your responsibility. I told that man this week about Kylie. I said, my son raised a daughter, and I said he homeschooled her. And I said, she turned out good. And I said, she married a good man. And now they've got 2 children. And I said, they're at church every service. Not only that, Kyler, he's a tither. And he gives a mission offering. He makes a lot less than a lot of y'all. He probably didn't want me to tell you that, but I'm bragging on him. Somebody did something right. There's old Sophie. I can't find too many blemishes with her. We sort of fond of her. And Jack, I guess he'll do in a pinch, as they say. I learned my first cuss words in the 3rd grade in a Talbot grammar. Boy, there's some heathens down there. I started cussing, and my mother started washing my mouth out with soap. Are y'all still with me? So God is going to judge him for the sin which he knew. You need to mark that in your Bible. And Samuel grew, verse 19, and the Lord was with him, and did let none of his words fall to the ground. Samuel is going to come one of the great prophets in the Old Testament. This young man could have floundered. He could have flopped. He could have said, well, I'm a long way from home. Mom and Daddy's not here. There ain't nobody watching me. But he was a mature young man who was wanting to do what was right because his mother had instilled in him. She didn't take him up there until she weaned him. But she had been like Moses' mother when Moses' mother was rocking him on her knee and telling him who he was. And then when he become age, Moses knew that he was a Jew. And God used him to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt. Now look at chapter 4 and verse 4. So the people sent to Shiloh that they might bring from thence the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth between the cherubims. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of God. Now look, they got in a battle with the Philistines, their arch enemy. And they wasn't living right. And God told their daddy, Eli, said, I'm going to kill them boys, and I'm going to do it one day. And it didn't even seem to bother the old man that much. And so them boys said, hey, let's drag that Ark of the Covenant into battle with us. They went into battle, and both of them boys died. And the Philistines took the Ark of the Covenant. Well, they went back and told Eli, they said, your sons are dead. That didn't faze him. Maybe he thought, I'm glad to get rid of them bums because all they've been is just trouble. Just come and steal, come and harass the church, harass the people of God, harass me. I'm wore out. I'm wore out dealing with them. So it didn't bother. But when they told him the Ark of the Covenant's taken, he was sitting on the wall being a big old fat man. He fell backwards and broke his neck and he died. Now what? Well, now what means we got a young man in the wings. He's in the ministry. He's got an ephod. He's been trained. He knows what to do. God's with him. Them other two bums of Eli's didn't know the Lord. They were whoremongers. They were thieves. They was anything you could think. They knew not God. And they went to battle thinking God was with them because they grabbed the Ark of the Covenant. And the Lord left them high and dry. You best be careful, buddy. I'm going to tell you, this mother raised this boy right. And he became the prophet. You know, he's the one that anointed King Saul. They went up to Ramah where Samuel lived. Man, he was a great prophet. God used that man. He anointed David king over Israel. He had a long lineage. He was from a boy at church. Somebody said, well, you can get too much church. If you ain't careful reading that old Bible, you'll go Bible crazy. No, most of them people was crazy before they ever saw a Bible. I've been reading mine for 53 years. It's helped me. I believe it'll help you if you read yours more and practice what you read. Boy, what a proud mother Hannah was. Now her son is in charge of the whole deal. He's living up there. He's taking care of the sacrifices. He's watching the people coming and going. And God blessed them. God gave them a nation. God profited them. King David had the greatest. Israel was at her height under King David. Man, what a place that was. And all because of a young boy that his mama took to church, that she prayed for, that she made him coats and put him in the right direction, dressed him for the job, dressed him in the right direction. Don't be a sissy and look effeminate. Be an effeminate man, earrings and shorts, and that's sickening. That's effeminate. I don't want even people coming to my house looking like that for any reason. Man or a woman. But boy, this mother, she did a fantastic job. And there's a bunch of them. You remember Suzanne Wesley raised John and Charles Wesley? She was a godly woman. I think she had 13 children. Is that how many was, Terry? 19. 19 children. It's a wonder she hadn't blew her husband's brains out next time he come in the house. 19 children. Whew. I couldn't imagine that, trying to feed 19 kids. Clothing 19. Well, boy, what kind of size of house would you needed? They probably just had a little small house and everybody just bunked up on the floor. Had plenty of help in the garden, though, didn't they? Well, okay, Trey, come on.